What is this cold open? Yeah.
So yeah, this cold open that I developed on the fly while we were talking about other random shit before we started recording. We were talking about Baby Bells, the Baby Bell chat from the last episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that I can't remember. Yeah.
I googled vegan Baby Bell because I was trying to remember if that was a thing. And the first hit that came up is I won't say which UK like large brand supermarket website this is from because we're not being sponsored, but I will say it was one of them, and it was a listing
rhymes
for
with Schmamesbury's.
It does.
Great guess.
Good goal.
Good guess. Yeah, but it was the item is Baby Bell Mini Hellfire Fiery Hot Plant-Based Snacks, and it is a Netflix tie-in for the final season of Stranger Things that has just been released.
So they've done a collab with Stranger Things, but just on the vegan Baby Bells.
Just on the vegan Baby Bells, that's correct.
What was the name again? Hellfire.
Baby Bell Mini Hellfire Fiery Hot Plant-Based Snacks.
It sounds like they should be spicy, not like nice and creamy.
They are. Apparently, they are coconut oil, hot chili pepper mix, and natural flavourings.
Oh, God.
You'll be pleased to know that this product launched within the past couple of weeks, by the looks of it, maybe the last week, and has got a solid 3 stars from 2 reviews. So if you think about that, you can probably work out the distribution there. One person loved it, one person hated it.
Yolly and I have like a whole thing about Sainsbury's reviews. Like this has been a long-standing thing between us. Yeah. Every time you look at a product and it's got 1 star with like 500 reviews, all the reviews are by like the worst people you've ever seen before in your life, who are like, well, I bought it and the packaging had a small hole in it and we used to be a real country. And like it's all that level of shit.
I will say, on behalf of the 2 people who've reviewed this one, they're both quite normal comments. One of them just didn't like it, one of them really loved it. So like...
Oh, okay.
Yes.
One of them was by 11? What? Is that a character from Stranger Things?
Indeed. But have you seen it? Because when there's a lot of Stranger Things food collaborations going on at the moment, and they're all so weird. Like Quavers has a massive one going on at the moment.
Quavers?
I was so
fuck
confused.
the theme of this episode. I want to know what the Stranger Things final season brand collabs are. Can we find this?
Yes.
Hold on.
Stranger.
I've got a weird setup. Let me just open my iPad here. It's another Googling episode.
Yes! I feel like I should buy those Baby Bells and make it my hyperfixation for next time. For Thursday.
Yes. Well, for Thursday, yeah.
I'll go to Schmainsbury's.
Someone's blog called sporked.com has got a whole article on it, and I'm very excited. And it seems to be more American based, so I think we're maybe not going to see all of the like UK brands on this, but that's a nice...
That's fine. It'll be a nice little peek behind the curtain.
The Baby Bells are on there though.
Oh, hell yeah. They've done their research.
I feel like I saw Doritos the other day.
And Doritos. And Monster Munch. Basically every crisp. Oh, Squares? There is no crisp.
Not Squares! Not Squares!
Also moving on. Oh, there's a...
Oh.
The Doritos black garlic
Chupa
dip looks good. And the Chupa Chups. I've seen those too.
Chupa Chup. Oh,
honestly,
upside down Chupa Chups.
That black garlic dip from Doritos, I might have to try. It looks really nice.
The thing
I
about
love the garlic
seeing all
dip.
of this... The garlic dips are so good.
Oh.
The thing about the final season of Stranger Things, I do like Stranger Things. I thought the last season was really good, and I'm excited for this new one. But when I saw the brand collab for Doritos the other day, and you see Elle, doing a little handout nosebleed thing, and there's like Will and whoever, I can't remember the names of the kids. Well, that's the thing. I say the kids, right?
They're
but
all
you
like
look at it now,
25.
you're like, that's an adult. There's 3 adults being like, just like. I don't know how I feel about this now. Like now I know that's like, oh, that's not like Elle. Like, oh wow, like the actor playing Elle in this, it's 2016 and the actor playing Elle is so good. Now I'm like, well, that's Millie Bobby Brown.
Yes.
And it feels really weird.
It does feel weird that she's like a mum now. She's like started a family before the...
No.
What?
Stop that.
Oh my God.
Let me just Google this. Millie Bobby Brown.
Child.
Does she really have a child?
Yeah. Like...
Wow. With whom?
With her husband. She's married. She's a kid. It's like a whole thing.
Husband who?
John Bon Jovi breaks silence on Millie Bobby Brown and his son Jake adopting.
Oh.
Which she's with John Bon Jovi's son.
Yeah.
Oh.
Son Bon Jovi. John Son Jovi.
Yeah, but like,
Wait, anyone help?
Son Bon Jovi.
Son Bon Jovi's, yeah. That's not his name, but they missed a trick.
I saw an amazing headline that I see if I can find it again because it really made me laugh. What I'm googling here is deranged. This is a Rolling Stone article from the 31st of March 2025. Jessica Simpson has been drinking snake sperm to help her vocals.
What the fuck?
Oh
what?
Dear.
How did we get here?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what?
Okay.
How did we get
and snake
here?
sperm has a collab with Stranger Things for the new season.
Oh god.
Right. Well, that felt like a good cold open.
Yeah, that was unhinged. That was
sperm.
unhinged.
How do you?
Okay.
You know what? Never mind. But like, how do
No, go on.
how do snakes procreate? How do they do the deed?
That's such a good question.
Snake sex.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you just Google snake sex.
Yeah, I did.
Immediate. Whatever came up there answered all your questions in one glance.
I tell you what, I installed a new Wi-Fi thing in my PC because my internet was being so awful. Shouldn't have any problems now, so congrats to me on that.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, you have been
excellent. You
consistent
are,
so
yes.
far.
You're
Yeah.
very
So fast. Snake sex came up instantly, and
That was your reaction to the speed rather than the information.
I think it was just very emotional about a bunch of stuff. But they like intertwine. But I don't understand how you would. Oh God, no! Like milk a snake.
What?
Oh, don't worry, I'm literally Googling how do you harvest snake. Also, you saying the word spunk and it really hitting me as like I've never heard her say that word before. That feels very wrong.
It felt like the correct way to say it. To follow snake. I was
Yeah.
like, what's the best? What is the
Yeah.
most pleasing sound? Subject matter aside, what is the most pleasing,
Yeah.
alliterative? Like you got the sibilants
Yeah.
in there. Coming back to my my English.
It sounds
my
like
English language
a
training.
band who would cut like an indie rock band who would like they just name
Oh,
themselves.
no, that's a heavy metal band, surely.
Heavy
that's
metal
like a
then.
screamo metal.
Yeah, you
snake
see the
sperm.
logo.
Yeah, yeah.
You can barely read it. It's just like a bunch of angry.
Oh, absolutely.
Angry, spiky
Oh.
lines.
Well, there's our first bit of merch right there. Just that design, but it says snake sperm.
And then I imagine snake. The S is a snake, and then spunk is the spunk from the
Oh
snake,
my
like spelled out.
Oh, God.
Oh my god! Yeah, no,
We've never been this blue on microphone.
Yes.
I feel like if I was to be a snake sperm farmer, I would simply get a picture of a snake and draw large breasts on it, and then the snake would simply go awooga, and the job would do itself, really. I wouldn't have to do anything. I would let the snakes do what they need to do. Hello and welcome back to Indie Venture, the video game podcast that's all about the wonderful world of indie games, ? I mean, we're 12 minutes in, but let's see. Actually, we're 15 minutes
yeah,
in, Jesus.
we are
Right.
indeed.
My name is Liam Richardson. What's it to you? And I'm joined as ever by my two wonderful co-hosts, Rebecca Jones
Hello.
and Rachel Watts.
Hello.
Today we're talking about sequels. This is a very, what I've written for this is now very straight-edged compared to the last 15 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
I feel jarring saying it out loud. But today we're talking about sequels. Sequels are a common sight in video games, especially in the increasingly risk-averse AAA space, which this year celebrates its 14th Assassin's Creed and 22nd Call of Duty, not including spin-offs. Traditionally, sequels allow developers to capitalize on the success of a title by expanding on it further. They can utilize the existing technology, art, and narrative as a foundation for which to improve all areas of the game. And in many instances, sequels are the installments that actually launch a franchise rather than the original game, as was the case with Assassin's Creed and Uncharted. And in rare cases, a sequel can completely revitalize a series, wiping the slate clean for a fresh start, as we saw with Resi 4 and the God of War reboot. But as always, we're more interested in how indie games approach this model. And sequels are, I would argue, a rarer sight in the indie space, and we're here today to unpack why. So, I thought we could start with a little bit of a thought experiment. I've written down here what I think are the 3 types of indie game sequels that we tend to see.
Ooh,
and I'm just wondering if you agree with this. So, first of all, we have straight up sequels.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 2 at the end. It's a direct continuation of the first game, and the way that AAA sequels often are. I've got closely linked spiritual successors, things like Deltarune to Undertale.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got expanded re-release. I think quite often what we see in indie is some developers will just keep releasing the game, but with more in it all the time. So I'm thinking things like Shovel Knight, which kept getting DLC and then, got all these different collections, and Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, which was technically the Stanley Parable 2, as well as also being the original, but it was basically an expanded version of that. So does that sound like the type of indie game sequels that we get? Do we agree with that list that I pulled together in 3 minutes before dinner?
Ooh, I like that list.
I think
it's
pretty good. That's such a good intro. Such a good intro.
It was a great intro.
So informed.
Thanks. Did you miss all the snake cum bit that came before that?
It was a great intro to the topic.
Take the compliment. It was a really
take it. Take the compliment.
No need to bring snake cum into this. It was a good.
Well, just try and stop me.
Yeah, I mean, I did a similar thing. You'll be unsurprised to learn that given the opportunity to list, I listed. And yeah, I mean, we didn't land on the exact same 3 as distinct categories, but that's broadly what's been reflected, certainly. And so what I did was just go through all of my game libraries and pick out everything that was an indie game sequel and see what's in there. And like the thing that I found is that, to build off some of your points, the things with just a straight up 2 at the end tend to be things that maybe got picked up by a slightly bigger publisher and maybe kind of butting up towards the double A space. I think that's where we tend to see just the sort of cardinal sequels coming out. Another thing that I noticed, because I love visual novels, and visual novels I think are probably the most sequeled indie games. I think the vast majority of what I found were
interesting
visual novels. Puzzle games tend to be the ones that, and like very small point and click, like very limited scope point and click adventure games were the 3 types of things that I was seeing a lot. And obviously I play a lot of those games, so I'm a little skewed towards that, but of the genres that I play, it's important to caveat, and I do play more than those 3 genres. Those were the sort of things that were coming through as getting like, the building of a small franchise. But yeah, the bundled kind of re-release, absolutely. And again, that ties into the visual novel thing, because quite often I was looking at a lot of these, like, how many of these are really true sequels and how many of them are technically like multiple chapters that took a long time to develop? And I think you see like an ambiguity in some of those spaces, especially in visual novels and in like narrative heavy series. So yeah, it kind of landed on a lot of similar stuff, I think.
Yeah, you guys
we're on to something here. Yeah.
It's good for scope as well, because I think when devs are always in that situation of, should I make a sequel? There's just a lot to consider. And I think those 3 categories that you both mentioned are like good broad scopes of what we're probably going to talk about more in the episode. So yeah. Very happy with that.
Good. Well, before we move on to that deeper conversation about, it's really hard to connect. I always find that when I host, it's always really hard to connect from an interesting point that you've got nothing else to add to into the next bit. I find when I'm interviewing people, I'm always like, oh, good. It sounds really sarcastic when I say it.
Yeah,
it's like, it genuinely is good. Yeah. All right. Moving.
Okay.
Yikes.
Or just the right.
Oh, that's killer. That's killer. I thought before we dove in a little bit deeper into sequels in indie games, it'd be quite interesting to list out some of our favourite indie game sequels. And I don't know about you two, but I actually struggled to find many. I think it really highlighted that there's not that many out there. But some for me, just to start us off with, are House Flipper 2, my beloved House Flipper 2, which I play every Christmas. Guacamelee 2, which I really enjoyed at the time. Tangle Tower, which is a sequel, and I think it, based on your point, Rebecca, about how some of the games that do get sequels are smaller point and clicks, I think that absolutely falls underneath that umbrella. And of course, Frog Detective. But do you two have some favourite sequels? Rachel, do you want to go first?
Ooh, yes. Definitely Tangle Tower and Frog Detective. for sure were mine as well. A lot of mine are quite recent. Citizen Sleeper 2, I thought was a really strong sequel.
Course.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Frostpunk 2, really good sequel that I enjoyed. All the Golden Idol games. Well, Rise of the Golden Idol and all the subsequent DLCs, which that's a really interesting point that I definitely want to talk about later. And yeah, like you said before, Stanley Parable 2, Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, maybe
Stanley Harder. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yep, good point. I didn't understand what that meant until I said it out loud. No, good for Stanley.
What is wrong with us today?
This lad's got penis on the brain.
Oh, God, that really got me.
Anyway.
Oh, God, Stanley Harder. Just the way you said it.
Stanley?
Oh, maybe. Actually.
Well, that's the thing.
Undecided noises.
Another disembodied voice that, would I fuck? Yeah, maybe.
The narrator from Stanley Parable? Oh, we need to have a longer conversation about how much.
Maybe that's not for this episode, but yeah, I would say those for me. Rebecca, what are your favorite sequels?
I am desperately highlighting a list because there's so many things. I'm like, this list is useless to me.
Interesting. So for you, there's a lot. For Liam, there's a few, and I'm like in the middle.
So the thing that I find is that I find it really hard. Once I like a game and then there are sequels, I don't really like pick out the sequels, if that makes sense. So I'm like, obviously big examples for me, Monster Prom and Rusty Lake, both like running indie series. And I'm like, I loved the first games and then I went on to keep playing them. And especially with Rusty Lake, I'm like, that is one where it's really on the borderline of like, is it actually an episodic single title essentially, or is it, distinct sequels? Because one of the ways that a lot of these games that I play, like I say, especially with puzzle games and with visual novels, is like they iterate a lot, right? They know that they have the assets there, they have the kind of rhythm of making these small games. It's like a really sustainable way to make games. It's really cool, but it makes picking out individual entries into a wider franchise kind of tricky in terms of like, because I mean the ones that stand out to me from those two series as good sequels would be Monster Prom 3 and The White Door, which notably are the most kind of different in terms of what they do compared to the way that the franchise tends to iterate and tends to like do those things where they advance the story by reusing assets, or at least like going along the pattern they've established for how the story is told. And I genuinely think those are probably my favorite sequels in their respective series. So that might say something. It might not. But more individually, I really like Sucker for Love 2. I think that was really good. And like I was thinking a lot about like Dread XP as a publisher does a lot to encourage like sort of sustainable sequeling. So Sucker for Love is up there as a planned trilogy. Amanda the Adventurer is about to conclude its trilogy. And again, Amanda the Adventurer is another one that I'd say like, is that actually 3 chapters of the same, 3 episodes of the same game? But it does technically, they're released as 1, 2, and 3. They're sold separately. So the way that we're consuming them is as sequels. But I do think like Sucker for Love 2 was just such a cool, interesting, like, it was actually a very different game. It was way more survival-y, and the way you interacted with those environments was quite different.
That is like a huge part of it though, right? Is like there are some instances where the first game is almost like a proof of concept and then the sequel massively expands on it.
Yeah, I mean...
like what you're saying with Sucker for Love.
The thing with games as opposed to, I think, like film series is that quite often game 2 is the one that is probably the one where it takes off, right? So, and I do think... Although I don't think that's the case here, it stands out to me as I really like the first game. The second game was kind of not very like it, but was also something that I really enjoyed and like stands on its own because of that. And also because of the way the timeline works in that series, it could be a prequel, it could be a sequel. In fact, a lot of the ones that I have on here are prequels, because another one that I really like is Platform 8.
Interesting.
Platform 8 is a very cool Exit 8 prequel that came out, I think 6 months or a year after the original.
It was soon, wasn't it?
And it wasn't exactly the same. It kind of like, it had a slightly different gameplay loop to it, which I thought was really interesting because everyone loved Exit 8. They could have just kept making Exit 8, but they chose to do a different take on the anomaly hunt genre when they did it. And so that's an interesting one. There's various visual novels in here that I could talk about. Also, another one that I came up with was technically a sequel, Octodad Dadliest Catch, which was one of my first
Oh my god.
One of my first indie games.
I forgot about that.
And is so many fond memories of playing it like in massive multiplayer with my uni friends back in the day.
Is it? That was a sequel?
In the sense that it's like there was a sort of proof of concept freeware original, and then there was a fully blown sequel, which was Dadliest Catch. And yeah, I just really love that.
That was by the Bug Snacks team, right?
Oh, well, that would make sense.
Oh, Hooded Horse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was what they made before Bug Snacks, I think.
I completely.
That's right. Yeah.
I have not thought about Octodad properly until this conversation for like years.
Yeah, same. Oh my god.
But yeah, it is a sequel to the 2010 freeware game Octodad.
Huh.
So
did not know that.
There you go. Yeah, the only things I remembered were that I enjoyed it, that I played it with my friends, the little girl knew her dad was an octopus all along, and it was a sequel. Why are those the 4 things that I remember?
That's probably another type, though, isn't it? Another type of like sequel quotation marks is you make a free thing that's very, very small, and then your next sort of like sequel is an expanded version that you then charge money for.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like a lot of the games that I came out with on my list is technically, it does start with one small free game, and then it builds onto like potentially multiple sequels in some cases, which is yeah.
Let me transition to the next question.
Right.
Yikes. So the real question I think that I feel like motivates this whole conversation, and it's definitely something that I really became aware of when I was looking through my list of games, is do sequels work for indie games? What are the benefits of making them? What are the pitfalls? And do we think there's any reason for developers to make them? And I actually just wanted to read out a little bit from an article I found earlier by David Galindo, who is the creator and developer of the game series Cook Serve Delicious, which has multiple sequels, 4 or 5 games in that series, I think, at this point. And they sort of theorize that the reason why not many indie developers might make direct sequels, is one, the thought of working on something similar to what you're working on for years sounds completely unappealing, and being ready to move on to something new is obviously more desirable. 2, the original game still sells really well, and having a long tail, so you're afraid of any major disruptions to that should a sequel be not well received, or to keep capitalizing on that by adding content to the game that keeps selling. Kind of the Stardew Valley effect when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the last one is just not really having any idea of what a sequel would be and how it would even improve upon the original, like feeling like, I guess this is what he's written, I'm adding to this bit, but feeling like you've said everything you wanted to say in that original release, which you can see a lot of games probably fall into that bracket as well. But I'd just love to know what you two think about this question, about this idea of sequels in indie games. And Rebecca, do you want to go first on this one? Or did you ask me to say that, Rachel?
No.
Apologies.
I think those are all really, I mean, it's whenever trying to theorize about a trend like this, it's easy to kind of fall into trying to ascribe the same motivations to everybody. And like, I think that there's a way of looking at it that is also really like positive, because as you mentioned with AAA, being risk averse is a massive reason behind tons and tons and tons of sequels. So like the main thing that I thought when I looked at a lot of indie games that I love and was like, oh, this has got, like you say, maybe spiritual follow-ups, maybe not, but much less likely to have a direct sequel than if it was in a different sort of like marketing, I guess, space, is that actually I'm pretty happy for those devs, because they got to move on and make something different. And often you do find, like you say, it's like it'll be a sort of similar follow-up, a kind of a Haunted Chocolatier, as Haunted Chocolatier is to Stardew Valley kind of follow-up, but you're not obliged to keep putting the name on things, because I suppose you're selling to your audience rather than trying to attract a new audience. And that's like quite freeing, I think, for creatives, as well as the other side of things, which is obviously that, like, sadly, it's like the odds of having an indie game that sells so well that you kind of feel obliged to make a sequel are not good when you're kind of handling your own marketing, and it's the reality for a lot of indie devs as well. Yeah, the benefits of making a sequel, because it's like that is the thing, is the name recognition. But then I was thinking about things like another one that I was thinking about a lot through all this was NPCKC, who made A Year of Springs, one of my favorite indie games I talk about a lot. And they now work with, they kind of finished that. They did that. They did the re-release with the epilogue that kind of ties it all up into one story, and that is another example of what I was talking about earlier with, like, is that now one game, or is that 3 games with an epilogue to all of them in one package? Who knows? Shrug. Maybe there's just not really a name for how this is delivered yet. But
yeah,
whenever they make a new game, I know it because it's all tied together by their very distinctive art style. And that's a thing that an indie developer can do that maybe is not so available to like bigger development teams where you've got a lot of fluctuation. You get artists come in and then after 10 years they leave and they take their very distinctive art style with them. Whereas for indie developers, it is in a way easier to do that spiritual sequel without having to put the name on it, just because it's like you can trust your audience to kind of, even if they don't see your name, if they're not people who are looking for the developer's name on a Steam listing or an itch listing, they'll recognize that art style and they'll like follow that as well.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good point, actually. I think sometimes about what would happen if Gen Z leaves Supergiant.
Oh,
their art style is so distinctive.
Yes.
Would they just mimic Gen's style, or would they go a different direction? Like it's nerdy, but I do think about that from time to time when I think about Supergiant.
I totally get you, definitely. Like, yeah, it's a thing that happens, and you know, it's always hard to tell because like sometimes you look at the art and you're like, I think that the original artist has moved on and that they've hired someone to imitate. But also you can look at it and go, well, over time people's art styles develop, right? And if you compare side by side someone's first game and their sixth game, it will be different anyway. But it kind of has that almost like, it's really good in terms of the way that your brains react to games. There's like certain art styles like NPCKCs, but like loads of others like I mentioned. I'm just happy when I see a character in that art style. Like your brain is wired eventually to react to seeing that art style. And so it's very clever from like a marketing perspective to kind of keep that consistency going. So yeah, I think it kind of sells itself.
Supergiant is a really interesting one because like, I mean, for years they were known as the studio who didn't do sequels. So when we talk about why indie developers decide whether to do sequels or not, I think Hades and Hades 2 are really good examples of that. Because I just think the risk that comes with making a sequel is really high. Not only do you have to make the same game, but better, you have to make it new, but not too new. Like the same as your old game, but like, with new things. And it has to be, I just think, in terms of like when you decide to make a sequel, there's all this like stuff you have to consider. And I think creatively, that can be quite a damper on creativity. But again, I guess it's that age-old conversation of like creativity versus marketability. Like,
well, yeah, exactly.
I can see why someone wouldn't want to make sequels of their games if creatively they're not fulfilling. But making sequels can sort of guarantee you like a certain amount of success because there's an audience already in place for it. So it's always that juggling act, isn't it? Because from Supergiant's perspective, they were putting out banger after banger, but also like how many like the bar was getting higher and higher for them. I'm kind of not surprised when Hades won all those awards and, you know, everyone, it's beloved. They went, maybe we should just like ride this wave a bit. Even though I can imagine a lot of people were kind of like, oh, I thought you were the studio who didn't do sequels. Like they would, that's what their whole thing was. And so I think there's something interesting in that, like their decision to make Hades 2 and use the same development process as Hades 1.
Yeah.
And we'll see if it pays off or not.
It is interesting though, because like at the same time, being known as the studio that doesn't make sequels is in itself a constraint, right? And to break free of that creatively could be the right choice, like just from a creative standpoint. I'm not saying that I think it's a massive weird coincidence that they had an idea for their first sequel that just happened to be to a massively lauded game, but you know, it's like
their biggest game ever.
Yeah, exactly. But it's, you know, I can kind of see it from both points of view with Hades 2 in that it's like
it probably satisfied both of the creativity and the marketability. It just ticked both boxes.
I can imagine that, to be honest. But yeah, it's it becomes its own kind of like prescriptiveness, right? And then you're just bored in the other direction. So
my like sort of theory with Hades 2 is like Pyre, I don't think was as big a hit as Bastion and Transistor. Like I definitely bounced off Pyre, and I remember at the time being a bit like, oh, what's this? Like, it was harder to sort of parse in trailers. It was a bit tricky to describe. You know, I feel like Bastion and Transistor were quite easy to kind of like, you watch a trailer, you're like, okay, I get what that is. I know what the shape of it is. And I wonder if part of them was like, we don't want to do another Pyre. Like, look how successful Hades is.
Yeah.
Clearly they had more stories to tell. Let's just do that again. It is the safe bet. I mean, part of me is still like a little bit disappointed that they are making Hades 2, because I feel like I've played Hades and Hades 2, we've played a bit of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Version 1 will be out soon, but I'm a bit like, will I love that game? Maybe when it's out, I will. But I think if it was something brand new, I'd be like, fuck yeah. Like, let's see what they've got cooking now. But I know I'm in the minority there. Like, I know that, other people are super excited for that. And they will, Yoli, for instance, is so excited for Hades 2. So you can't please everyone, clearly. And I get why they've done a sequel.
Yeah. It's almost like the bar is so high. I don't know how Hades 2 will be better than Hades 1, but I also think that every time an indie game sequel is announced of a series or a game that I really love, and some of the time, it's absolutely way better, and the studio has considered everything about it, and we should absolutely trust them. But I don't know, after playing a bit of Hades 2 in early access, I'm not quite there with Hades 2 just yet, but we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just, I'll be very curious about it. It was more of it, and that's what sequels sometimes are, right? And, like, I get it.
I'm so sad that I didn't manage to make time over the weekend to play Strange Antiquities, which came out like 4 days ago at the time of recording, because that's that's interesting in how that's positioned, right? Because that's doing a lot of what we're talking about. It's clearly... It's not Strange Horticulture 2, it's Strange Antiquities, but you know what they're doing, and when they bring that art style and they bring the kind of naming in, and it seems to be like the same sort of gameplay but with a different story in the same world, and I'm like, I'm really curious. I wish I could have come here with a more definitive answer on that one, but I'm really curious to see how that one shakes out.
It's been received really well. Like,
has
really
it? I've not
well.
even seen reviews yet. To be
the reviews have been really good.
I saw a couple of like 4-star reviews, so I'm like, it's clearly like, I get the strong impression it's like, if you love Strange Antiquities, then this, is a good kind. It's like what I'm trying to say about iteration in the puzzle and like adventure and more visual novel-ish genre of indies is like, you can do that quite sustainably, and I'm really pleased for studios that do manage to do that. It's like, I think it's a good way if you can kind of like hit that sweet spot where you enjoy making your project over the long term. You can just kind of keep feeding more bits of the story, adding a bit of different or improved gameplay, and just kind of keep doing that and keep the studio going, keep a few people employed for a few years. That's probably like a great spot to be in terms of how to make your indie games, right?
We spoke about this on the success episode, right? We said like one of the factors of success is if you can sustain your studio, you're not like massive, but you make enough to keep making the next thing and paying your bills. Like, that is success in of itself.
Yeah.
But
100%.
Like, I wonder if like part of the aversion to sequels is because a lot of these developers come from like big AAA. Like, you see a lot of people who are like, oh, I worked at Ubisoft for 8 years in Assassin's Creed, and then I went off and made this like project for 5 years by myself.
Yeah.
And you wonder how much of it is like, I was in the Call of Duty mines for a decade, and all I did was like model gun grips, and I never want to do the same thing every day ever again, or like be constrained by something like, on the machinery of a big AAA production line. But yeah, I don't know. But then like you say, some developers, like the developer that you love, the cat games. Buildings full of cats.
Yeah, Dev Cats.
Like they're just doing their thing all the time, right? Like,
they're on my list as well. Absolutely, is like they've got their art style down. It's new assets every time, but the gameplay loop is kind of nailed on, and that's just they bring out 2-3 of those a year, and it's like a lot of puzzle game studios do. That's a great position to be. I've also you've just reminded me of speaking of completely the opposite end of the scale. One of the first conventions I ever went to where I was kind of like talking to devs and stuff, I met the devs from Muse Games. And we were talking about Ember. That was the game I think that just come out. But they were like, oh, before that we made Guns of Icarus, and before that we made Hamsterdam, and you cannot think of like 3 more different games. And they were like, we get so bored, so we just want to like, after you've done like a quite hardcore steampunk like airship maintenance simulator with a bit of combat, you want to do like a cute little fighting game about hamsters, and then you go on and you make this game about like firefighters, but it's quite cartoony and quite cute, and it was just that seemed to be because that's a fairly small studio. Obviously it's an indie studio, and like just wanting to have that freedom to change and to say, hey, I'm really, I love steampunk, but I'm bored of looking at all these cogs. I want to draw a cartoon hamster for the next 12 months. Like, seemed to be, they were making a point of trying to be as different as they could with all of their different games.
It's like Sayonara to Lorelei. It's like you could not tell those are both made by the same death. Like they're totally and utterly on polar opposites end of the scale in terms of like even like artistic intention. Like it's really amazing seeing that. Like I love it when with spiritual sequels, it's like, oh, I can see this like creators, artists, like I kind of feel like that with the Sam Barlow, like from Her Story to Telling Lies to Immortality. They're not sequels, but they are siblings. Like there's a through line.
That's a nice way of putting
That's
it.
a really good way.
There's like I can see how Her Story was like really did certain things, and then everything that he almost wanted to explore more mechanically, but with a different story, was then in Telling Lies, and then finally Immortality, which feels like the Pokemon evolution of the other two.
Yeah, put it like that.
Those
Yeah,
games
it's a really good way of putting it.
Do feel like a trilogy, right? And there are ways of looking at that and saying that reads as a trilogy for sure. And like, we see that,
especially after playing Sword of the Sea as well. Like, I think a lot of people were like, "This is basically Journey, but for the 4th time the studio has done this." And I can see that argument, but like, if they just love a certain mechanic and they love exploring it in different ways and telling different stories with it, then for me, who's a fan, I'm just like, absolutely, yeah. But if I can see with someone who's like, oh, I didn't like this game, and now they make the same kind of games, I'm not going to be into them. You're kind of like alienating that side, but also games aren't for everyone. So it's really interesting, these kind of like, and that's a really interesting point as well. Like, have you guys ever played a sequel but not the first game?
Oh,
in any sort of situation?
Yeah,
really,
a lot. I mean, maybe more in AAA. Although, like,
so it's not put you off from being like, oh, I need to play the first game and then I'll play the second game.
I fight through it.
Yeah, I feel like,
because
there was definitely.
Yeah, I don't think I think if it's like Frostpunk 2, I'd want to play the first one. But then again, that's story led, so it is different.
To be fair, I'm the reason that I haven't played Citizen Sleeper 2 yet for, Game of the Year considerations is because I want to play 1 and 2, and that just becomes a bigger task. I don't think I've really done it with indies except for where I've not played the sort of short, as we said, free intro, and then I've kind of gone in on the first mainline game sometimes.
Well, I'm the same. I don't think I've ever done it with an indie game, but my immediate gut reaction when I think of the sequels I've jumped into are things like Fallout 3 without playing the first 2.
Yeah, I was thinking
Witcher 3 without
for me,
playing 1
it's
and 2.
like Baldur's Gate 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons,
Yeah.
the sort of ones where I just suddenly noticed a franchise that maybe been quiet or I just hadn't been on before, and then
But I think it's an accessibility issue. Accessibility in terms of like actually being able to physically play the games, because I feel like with most indies, it's like, oh, well, the first game came out 5 years ago. It's on Steam.
Yeah, that's
right?
a fair point.
Like, or it's on Switch. I can just download it. So I've got no excuse. With like The Witcher 3, I was like, I'm not going to go and buy, I knew GOG existed at the time, but I'm like, well, I can't just play it on PlayStation 4 or whatever. Fallout 3, I was like 16. I wasn't going to go to a shop and try and find a big box version of 1 and 2. Like, I feel like that's the only reason why I've never done it.
Yeah,
in those instances.
Because I'm the same. Because with AAA, I've played The Witcher 3, I played Persona 5, and it's almost like with AAA, when I play a sequel, I don't expect it to be a lot of the times like anything similar to maybe 1 and 2. But with indie games, I do approach the sequels differently. I'm very much like, I want to play like this studio's early work, or it's weird. I definitely approach the sequels in the indie space different than AAA, 100%. I think indie games
really
recognize. I think indie games recognize that. I think they're very. I think that is a pressure from their part as well, because people, I think, like us, think that it's like, well,
yes,
I want to play the first one before I make a second one, and
I think that's kind of part of the risk aversion in the AAA space as well, is people being like, every game has to be capable of onboarding new players, which obviously you're not under as much pressure as an indie developer to do that, to make sure it sells as many units as possible. Because then you do see, obviously, like we've all kind of experienced it, I'm sure, as fans of a AAA franchise, where it's like, if that plot thread didn't get wrapped up in the last game, too bad, because new players won't know what it's about, so it's dead, it's done, it's in the bin. And that happens a lot with AAA, and it is a frustration. Whereas like indie games, you come in, you've got to do a bit of homework, but like you say, it's less of an intent, like financially and time wise, it's usually less of an intensive ask to get caught up on the series before you play the sequels, and then you'll be like, this could still pay off in a way that's way more engaging than kind of going into like, you know, whatever. Like another one that I forgot to mention earlier was like Resi 7 was my first Resi game, and it's like knowing that it's just completely wiped the slate clean. Obviously, like with Resi, it starts bringing stuff back in, but it's still like, yeah, hey, you know, you don't need to know any of our previous games is always a selling point with these.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, you're totally onto something there. Because if it's like, I don't know, Ghost of Yutai, which is out like next week, that's that's clearly like you don't need to have played Ghost of Tsushima to have played that game, right? It's, like you say, it's wiping the slate clean. And I do wonder if there's a sense of like, my thought was, well, do indie developers sometimes think, why would I make a sequel to cannibalize the sales of the first and also risk that only a portion of the player base comes to the sequel because they haven't played the original? But like, is that true? Like, were the devs of Darkest Dungeon 2 thinking only people who've played Darkest Dungeon 1 will come over? Like Silksong, we've said it. There it is. Finally said the name.
48 minutes in.
Oh yeah, we should. That was what the whole point of this episode was supposed to be about. But then none of us fucking played it.
Yeah, none of us have played it. This is meant to be our Silksong episode, but soz. Don't worry. Every other games podcast has spoken about it.
Yeah,
but I wonder, like, I'd love to know, like, how many people jumped into Silksong fresh? Because there would have been a portion because that game had so much chatter about it. But, like, absolutely. Did anyone just buy Citizen Sleeper 2? Because you could play Citizen Sleeper 2 without playing the first one.
Yeah.
Like, Yoli did.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. You mentioned Darkest Dungeon. That's why I haven't played 2, because I'm like, I still need to play 1. I still need to play 1. So for me, I'm like, I probably won't play 2 because I've not played the first one. So one day. But I think there's just like, and I think this also brings us to another point as well of like, when I play a game that I really like in the indie space, because it's the indie space, I will also be able to find, you know, for lack of a better term, copycats of that game.
Yeah.
And so I'll be able to get my fix. I mean, we've seen this in like Golden Idol likes, which is like a term that people have started using now. This kind of like fill in the blank mystery games. You see it in like the puzzle space. There's like one being released every other week, and they're all great. But ultimately, like, because they've got such a, you know, the Golden Idol devs, Color Grey Games are absolutely, they're fine. They're releasing all this DLC. They're, you know, the sequel was fantastic. They're all good. But if you have a game which is like, it pops off, and then suddenly you go on your mobile phone, there's like 500 other games similar to the like Balatro likes,
unpacking.
Yes, like unpacking. Like you'd be like, well, does the world need a sequel? Should I be the one that needs
really
to
point.
make this sequel?
It's
market-wise.
Because like sometimes they do create a genre. I'm thinking about now, like I'm on Observation Duty, which spawned the entire genre of like horror anomaly games, which now is a genre with a lot of variation within it. And like I talked about the Exit 8 earlier, and that is like a response to I'm on Observation Duty.
Horror definitely is more
too, right?
incestuous for sure. I feel like the horror genre is very incestuous. Like they're all in each other's business.
It's true. But it's like, so there's like still a sense of like which lines are being crossed, right? You wouldn't look at Exit 8 and think that is trying to crib like players from the Observation Duty guy as like, oh, this is because you know a lot of people are mixing with the same ideas and like coming up with original stuff. The people who put out like the Exit 9 on the PlayStation Store because Exit 8 isn't on PlayStation, so they just did a straight up rip of it that was terrible. And like I think that did that get taken down? I hope that got taken down, because like
no idea.
Even in that space though, you know that there's a line not to cross, right? There are times when the influence and like there are some amazing horror anomaly games out there, like 5 years down the line, that have got nothing to do with the mechanics of Observation Duty, but it just spawned that knock-on effect of people like things like 10 Bells, which is a great game, Atta, just so many cool ideas within that space that aren't just replicating it but are running with the ideas. But then you have like the games that just tried to clone unpacking and put it on storefronts that didn't have unpacking, and like that's why Vampire Survivors is free on mobile, because there was such a high risk of a free clone coming up on a mobile storefront that they had to get ahead of it by essentially just releasing it for free on mobile. And
because with Vampire Survivors, I guess they were like, well, we could put it up for free because we're, you know, it's incredibly successful, but like unpacking, it's like not as successful. And then you're just like, what what am I doing? What the fuck? Like, I don't want an Unpacking 2, but like there probably will never be one because I don't know. There's just so many other. Yeah.
Also, like the concept of Unpacking 2 is kind of grim if you think about it, because it's like, do you do like, you know, what has happened to the protagonist of Unpacking 1 is a decision you kind of have to make in a theoretical Unpacking 2, and then you're like,
what about the kid?
Exactly, but like that's still kind of like, I don't know, there's either like there's a weird amount of overlap, or you just kind of go like the next generation, but it's kind of sad, or you just restart the whole Unpacking thing again and it kind of doesn't add anything, right? So
but yeah, it's like done.
Here's a theory. Unpacking 2, it's a co-op game, and you play as a like it's an anthology game of couples.
I kind of love that
you play with someone else, and it's about you trying to
communicate
how to get everything in the house together.
That's really good.
So here's my take. I think, if Unpacking is a game about like unpacking all your boxes and unpacking your possessions, Henry Halfhead is the opposite, where you have to unpack everything and take all the objects out of everything. So Henry Halfhead is Unpacking 2.
I love that. Oh, we need to do
You're making a mess instead of tidying up.
Yeah.
We still need to do our unhinged theories about which indie's a sequel to which other indies episode, and I think that should be
that kicks us off. Yeah,
like just absolutely mad theory crafting with no basis in reality. I love it. That's great.
I think another thing I was also thinking about with sequels is like fans, and like if your fans are like demanding, or not demanding, but like want a sequel to something, like we've seen with Silksong. I guess like what. I don't even know what I would do with that energy, or I don't know what I would do with that. I guess as a creator as well, it's like, well, these are the people who love my game. Are they going to love anything else I put out? Or like, why do they love this game? I think that is like also something with the sequel, is I think sometimes developers can make sequels and misunderstand what people liked about the original. I think things like Hyperlight Breaker, Sorry Not Sorry.
Oh, yeah. That was very divisive when it came out.
Yeah, and I think they, the jump from 2D to 3D is something that people have done successfully before with Risk of Rain. That was 2D, and then they went to 3D and everyone ate that shit up. But I just feel like Hyperlight Breaker is still in early access, and they announced another game that's supposed to come out in November. So what's happening there? Like, I don't...
Oh yeah, they did. But that one's like 2D and it's like a side scroller thing, right? That looks really good.
Possessors? Is it?
Yeah, Possessors. Yeah, Possessors looks mint. Yeah.
So that looks amazing, which makes me feel a bit like maybe lads, maybe we should have just because I think that I don't know. I haven't played Hyperlight Breaker. It's still in early access. I'm not gonna play it because it's not my cup of tea. And I really did like the Hyperlight Drifter. I really like that game. So yeah, that's a sequel that I probably won't play because it is too different from the original, and I feel like it's not going to be exactly it's not what I liked about the original. I don't think I'm alone in thinking that, and that sucks. So, what's the studio called? So sorry.
Heart Machine.
Yeah. Solar Ash. They released Solar Ash after Hyperlight Drifter, right? So it was Hyperlight Drifter, Solar Ash, and then they went back to like a game, they're getting an incredibly successful game. They almost was like, okay, maybe we should make a sequel to. That was an interesting decision. I'd like to know. Maybe Solar Ash didn't do that well. I've wanted to play Solar Ash for years. That is one on my hit list. I've never gotten around to.
I swear it was really critically acclaimed, wasn't it? It was very critically acclaimed, as I recall.
It was quite. It was well received. It was pretty well received.
Yeah,
I'd say well received
Fair
rather
enough.
than acclaimed.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I would love to know what happened there. But then there's also like things like Cult of the Lamb, which easily, with all the content they had, definitely could have made a sequel. Like all these different DLCs and everything they do. But they firmly have been like, no, we're sticking with this first game and we're just going to ride out this wave. I think in terms of how evergreen your game is also makes a massive difference in terms of like the story has ended. There's nothing else we can do here. But like, I think if your game is like evergreen in a certain respect, you can just keep.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that kind of brings us back to the Stardew Valley thing as well, doesn't it? And that's also like what I've been thinking about, because like with Power Wash Simulator 2, which is another one that we love to talk about and is another upcoming indie sequel, and that's going to be like even more indie, right? Because have they gone independent for publishing this one, I seem to recall.
Yes, then it's Squeenix isn't publishing this one, it's just them.
And so, like, for that one, it
cool.
begs the interest. Well, not begs the question. That's not how you use that phrase. Oh, anyway, it raises is the correct phrase. The interesting question of like, because people that I'm seeing now are looking at Power Simulator 2 and being like, well, I understand this decision to like step away from the publisher. The first one can kind of stay as its own thing with a lot of the like licensed DLC, which won't be in this one. That'll be kind of, you know, it makes it its own thing in that way. But ironically, you come up against almost the Sims issue of people saying, well, I've been buying this game quite happily for the last 3-4 years with all its DLC. Even if there are some gameplay improvements, what is the justification behind me starting from a base game with none of that extra content? And imagine if, you know, they tried to do Stardew Valley 2. If they tried to do Cult of the Lamb 2 would be similar because of the sort of like the loop within that, I imagine. You know, when it's kind of sandboxy, like how do you sequel a sandbox?
Well, I think it's also like, just thinking about it, like games just are around much longer now. Like there's no hard cutoff of console generations anymore. Like you normally bring your entire digital library with you when you upgrade. Like we've gone from the PS4 to the PS5 and the Xbox and the Switch and whatever. Like, you know, you inherit all these games, and Steam, like my Steam account turned 19 the other day, which is wild.
Happy birthday.
But like I've now carried that library with me for 19 years. You know, do I need a Stardew Valley 2 when I've just got Stardew Valley and it works on everything I own? Like probably not. Like maybe there is something about just like the Among Us thing, right? Like they were making a sequel, then the first game took off and they scrapped the sequel and focused on the first game, and that was the right decision. And you wonder how much of like developers look at like live service games almost as a bit of a template for like, well, if we just charged £8 for this and then just keep releasing free updates, is it evergreen forever? Because there'll always be new people buying a new console, and if we're on there, you know, Stardew Valley came out in like 2017 on Switch,
exactly.
and it's still always in the top 20 on the charts of
a lot of sandbox games they have demonstrably more staying power if you have like a sort of a sandbox that gets regular free updates.
Even like in the AAA space, like there's evergreen games like GTA 5's the big one, but even things without multiplayer components like The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk, these things are like always in the charts.
Oh yeah.
They still like, just games have such a longer tail on them now.
Absolutely.
Bigger.
Yeah.
They're big old games.
I did actually have a look at the randomly this morning.
Big wasp.
Thank you, Agatha.
I am not sure if what I was about to say was any more relevant than Big Wasp, to be honest. No, I was actually going to say that to kind of end that thought. This morning I was randomly looking at the Switch charts from August. It kind of came up and I always read it because it's really interesting. Tiny Bookshop was at the top. I just wanted, like, this is not the episode to shout about that, but I was super happy. Tiny Bookshop obliterated everything else. But Animal Crossing New Horizons has rarely been out of the top 20 as well, and that is now a 6-year-old game. And like, you know, the sort of Mario and Zelda games that were released contemporaneously to it stuck around for a long, long time, but they have now dropped off. And, you know, the sandboxes, like you say, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, all of that has a lot of staying power.
The life sims, farming sims, cute sims situation.
And like, you know, much as live service is kind of the curse of AAA, you can understand why that starts to look appealing. Not just because, you know, not just because of the option to print money, but also the actual user retention on it is really good.
Well, it's like the lawful good of that model, right? Is like instead of it being free and you charge microtransactions for everything, it's like, no, you pay 20 quid and you never pay a penny again. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I was thinking like it kind of has that, because like within live service, one thing that you get to do in live service, which you don't get to do in many other models, except again, the indie game that the dev just updates when they can, is you actually get to finish that thought, that story. Like I was saying, the frustration with AAAs, like with a sort of cardinal repeating AAA series, and it's like that storyline didn't get wrapped up in that game, so it's gone forever. They're never going to come back to it. Live service can do that, and indies can do that, and like the people in the middle can't do that. So that's kind of an interesting thought I was having earlier. It's like they can't. Maybe this line is a circle, and it's almost like at some point,
or a bus, eating itself.
Don't mention snakes.
The best thing. Oh god.
Or a Boris.
Oh no! Oh, we're back in it.
Oh, are we going there? You do not look like you want to go there.
No, I'm stepping away. I'm stepping away.
Good. Appreciate that.
I don't want to encourage
Respect
this
your
anymore.
decision.
Wait, I had a point. It's gone. Oh yes. Because I think in the indie space as well, evergreen can also mean, because one thing that I've loved seeing in the past couple of years is how detective games in particular and have now been serialized like they have for TV. So now you're seeing Duck Detective 2, Tangle Tower, Golden Idol, like all these characters that we love, but there's a new mystery to solve. And so it's almost like serialized. And I think that is so... Frog Detective. That's like, it's such a... That is a really smart way of like...
It really is.
Maintaining your player base, but also doing something creatively fun and interesting. It's kind of like the Knives Out films, right? They've just taken someone beloved. Now they're just putting him in different cool mysteries. Like,
it's so interesting.
I love
totally
that.
Right. You compare it to like a TV serialization. So all of those that you just mentioned were on my list of like things that it's like, is it really multiple games or is it a trilogy released over a long time as episodic? But there's kind of that, and there's also the horror anthology is huge in the indie space, right? And that's another thing that you're seeing like coming through from TV to gaming as well. I'm thinking like things like Midnight Scenes and Horror Tales, and this one that, despite my 2 years of Japanese lessons, I am not going to pronounce very well, but Sugunohi. Like those are, again, devs doing like very small, and I think they're all sold individually, but like £2 per game or whatever in most cases. And just, again, same art style, kind of similar length.
So wait, what? So if the detective genre takes the character and puts them in different mystery settings, those ones you've just mentioned, is it like different entries in the same horror universe so the lore is expanded? Is that what they're kind of doing? Because that's another reason I'd play a sequel. Citizen Sleeper 2 was the same reason. I was like, I love this world. That's a good point. And so the reason, because when I have expectations when I, play a sequel. With Frog Detective, it was, I want to see this little cutie solve a mystery. The story is the most important thing. But Citizen Sleeper 2, I was like, I want to know more about this universe. With Golden Idol, I go into a sequel being like, I want a good mystery. I think when I approach different sequels, I have an expectation of what I want from them, whether it be expansion of lore, seeing the same character again, different mechanics played out in different ways. So I keep going back to Frostpunk 2, just because for me it was just so surprising. I felt with Frostpunk 1, I was just like, what are they going to do? But the interesting thing about 11-bit is they almost, all their games approach the same big questions. But so Frostpunk 2 is kind of the same as the first one, but this question of the human condition and like, it's never answered, ever. It will never be answered. And so they can approach that question in different ways through different games. So with Frostpunk 2, I was like, what else can they do different? Oh, this big question that they've made that whole branding and like ideology when they make games, like that's evergreen in itself. Like they keep exploring this topic over and over and over again in different ways. I was just thinking of like, what I would expect. And I was like, damn, good for them.
I guess like maybe there's almost like a conclusion forming here in my brain of like, with a AAA, maybe they don't always want to make the next Assassin's Creed, but the name brand is so profitable they sort of are backed into that constraint. But with an indie game, because like I'm thinking like the SteamWorld games, I always used to love whenever a new one came out, because I was like, how are they going to approach this new idea?
Yes.
And I guess like with Kaizen, when they did, Paradise Killer to Promise Mascot Agency, like,
oh, of course,
you're just looking at how they approach things. I want to see how they would approach this thing differently next time. So maybe that's why you don't need sequels, because you don't. We've already mentioned this. You don't need the name recognition of the series. It's like, oh, this is the new Toby Fox game, right? It's the new Kaizen game. Like, those become the bigger factors than the actual brand itself, because they're not being pumped out by some like faceless conglomerate. Like, when Call of Duty 4 came out, I don't think anyone was like, oh yes, the new Vince Zampella game. Like, that's just not how these things work, unless of course you're Hideo Kojima. But
well, and that's like the one example though, isn't it? Like, name one, I suppose, like maybe Neil Druckmann, but like not to nearly the same degree that Hideo Kojima is like the video gaming auteur in the AAA space, right? But like, yeah,
but that's because every level in Metal Gear Solid 5, it comes up on the screen, designed by Hideo Kojima, story scenario by Hideo Kojima.
God
like
damn
that
it.
lad really wanted you to know, hey, I made this, by the way, just so you know, this is mine.
It's like when your mum writes
Hideo.
your name on your underwear. It's giving that energy.
Oh
my mum has less complicated feelings about women than that man does. So.
Ugh.
Interesting.
Did your thought return to you, Rebecca?
It did. I was trying to remember the name of
Did it circle
the indie horror gaming series Fears to Fathom. I was just trying to finish the list.
Ooh,
That is such a good example, because their whole shtick is like, we've had emails in,
Exactly.
and
So
this is a real story. And it's like
the thing I'm getting from a lot of these horror anthologies is like almost doing like American Horror Story, or kind of like to kind of
That's
look at
a
like
good comparison.
True Detective or Fargo, or all of these things that are like, it's the same creators and it's the same, you know, visually it's the same style. Often it'll be the same cast, which is what I feel like American Horror Story is kind of the purest example, because the way the same cast works is almost the way the same art style works in an indie game, right? Is it's like, you know, Sarah Paulson's
This is so
gonna be in it,
good.
and you're like, who's Sarah Paulson playing this season? Becomes like, okay, so what's, you know,
that's a really good comparison.
So
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
I'm eating the shirt, Rebecca.
Keep cooking. Keep cooking, Queen.
I think it's so true, though. As we said earlier, like the horror scene is kind of a thing unto itself in this regard, and it's always like operating on different rules slightly to the rest of the games industry.
Because, like, with Fears to Fathom, when they release a new game, I'm like, I know what to expect, but I also don't. I know the general vibe, and I know the shtick, which is like, we received another creepy story, and I know I'm in for a certain time. Kind of like, oh no. They're named, it's a horror anthology, Rebecca, and they have a cute animal as their mascot. Chinchilla Arts.
Chilla's
Oh,
art.
Chill Art.
Sorry, not Chinchilla. Chilla's Art.
Chinchilla's Art.
It is a chinchilla. That's the
oh,
logo.
okay, but they're Chilla's Art.
And again,
so
there's another perfect example of no sequels, but
but they're all kind of
and like
entries in the same chapters in the same book.
And if you want to go down that line, like Puppet Combo is another classic said in the same breath with Chilla's Art a lot. They do that. They've got you look at a game and you're like, that's a Puppet Combo game, to the point where they've now started publishing other games that kind of look like Puppet Combo games, because it's like,
God, the horror scene is so interesting.
The brand recognition is,
it really is
there.
Because like, what about like, I mean, we should talk about like Garden of Banban, which is on like their 8th game, which is just
goodness.
like, so I only know
one.
of this because I've seen streamers play it. And they are kind of known for being really terrible and very awkward to play. But because streamers and Let's Players like play them all, they've released
I see
like
why it's got
8 or 9 games.
Poppy's Playtime,
absolute aesthetic of Poppy's Playtime, and that whole
But it's like, because they're so popular, for almost like they are, they're like keep releasing these games, which is just like, you know what? Pop off. If you're making money.
mascot horror, like Five Nights at Freddy's, and then you got the mascot horror, and that leads to Garten of Banban. Like, we haven't talked about Five Nights at Freddy's yet.
Wasn't Five Nights at Freddy's getting a sequel like every other month at its peak?
Something like the first 5 games I think came out in 2 years or something daft like that. So
that's
I mean, movie Wikipedia.
That's the breakthrough to a full-on franchise where you're just pumping shit out because.
Yeah. Oh my god. So Garten of Banban, the original, came out on the 6th of January 2023, and the 8th one, which is only, but there are also at least 2 like non-cardinal sequels that I can see in this list. The 8th one came out on the 28th of August, so like nearly a month ago. So that's 10 games in 3 years, not quite.
Five Nights got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in 4 years.
Wow.
Five Nights 1 and 2 came out 2014, 3 and 4 came out 2015, then Sister Location 2016. Yeah.
But you know what?
Crap.
I haven't played a single Five Nights at Freddy's game in my life. Would I watch a 5-hour YouTube video of someone explaining the entire lore to me? Absolutely.
Yes, like my situation.
Right? These horror games, I'm not interested in playing these games, but these sequels fill out a wider picture of a mystery that I just want to know more about. And like, that's the reason I would engage with that, with these games, because for lore reasons, and I think horror in particular really has an advantage there because, the creepy beginnings of this person and Purple Guy's backstory and who Golden Freddy is. I'm like, yes, give it to me.
Absolutely. I know, right? It's so compelling, and I've got like no interest in playing those games, but I've watched a lot of them, and I've engaged with the lore on them.
Purple Guy.
Yeah, Purple Guy.
Purple Man is like
I love how both of you said there and me.
Yes.
There's a whole thing. Oh my God.
The second film is coming out later this year, and I will be watching it. It's like...
Is it?
Yeah. That's
I relate the release of that first movie with the launch of this podcast, because I think it came out around the same time we launched Indie Venture.
I think it probably did, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh my
That
God.
makes sense. But I gotta
the
say,
second
though,
movie about the bite of 87 or whatever. That's a thing, isn't it?
Well, there's two bites. There's
sequels.
Yeah.
There's 2 bites.
Oh no. This is not going to get better.
The 2 different bites. There's one.
That's fine,
there's
okay,
87 and there's another one as well. I don't remember the number.
We'll catch up. Yeah. I'll text you.
I'll send you this 5-hour YouTube video of someone explaining it in great detail. But it's gotten so much that there's different theories. So people are from different backgrounds of thought. There's the MatPat train of thought of what happened there, and then there's the other. So there's different approaches and interpretations of the law.
Ah, that is interesting. Is this how you feel when I talk about Sonic?
I love it when a fandom takes it so much more seriously than the creator. That's one of my favourite things. It's like when you got fans who are like, this, and I love doing this. I have no shame to admit I love being the fan who's like, well, if you see here, the date on the newspaper clearly suggests that this was happening 50 years before the event. And like, they're just like, I just put a placeholder date in there. I didn't think you could zoom in on a non-interactable asset to find this out. What is wrong with you?
Incredible. I
love it.
So just 2 other little conversation points I'd written down here that I thought might be interesting to talk about. I thought it'd be interesting to speak about Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 1 Re-Raptored, which is the sequel / prequel to Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3, which only came out like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
But Strange Scaffold have licensed this to a different studio. They announced that this project started before Redneck Mansion 3 came out. They'd approached someone else and said, would you like to make a sequel that we're going to launch this year?
Fucking funny.
I didn't know that part. That's amazing.
Yeah, they just gave them all the assets and the code
away.
And just said, they were like, can you make like another iteration of this? So I think that's really interesting, this idea of like licensing out your game to another developer so they can have their own take and spin on it. Like from what I remember from Xalavia's announcement of it, he did one of those classic TikToks he does where he's zooming in and out of his own face quite a lot. Like, I think they were just like, do whatever you want to do. Like, this is what we're doing with 3. You decide what you do with this sort of like world and story, which when we're talking before about, I want to see how like this developer does next. The thought of like, what if you like licensed out your series to someone else and then they like did their own interpretation of it?
That'd
it's
be
like
so
such a
cool.
neat and cool idea.
Yeah. Like all these different interpretations of Sherlock Holmes and like, this game interprets him this way, but instead of that, it's like just video game characters. That is so cool.
Peppino Spaghetti from Pizza Tower.
Oh my God.
I want to see the super giant sequel to Pizza Tower. Actually, you know what? That would slap.
Cool.
I know I'm saying that out loud. Imagine that, but in their art style.
I kind of like...
Everyone else would be really hot, but Peppino would just still be the same.
It's the same sprite.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I would pay so much money for that.
It's like when there's like animation projects where everyone, like different animators, like animate the same. That like they take a film and then each animator takes like a scene from the film and animates them differently. It's kind of like that. They're doing it differently over at Strange Scaffold. They are like so interesting.
They are. They're just thinking different.
I love the idea of like forcing a situation and getting ahead of a situation just to see what happened, where it's like 10 years down the line, your IP's been left with a publisher that you're no longer associated with, and so like another studio gets brought on. Rather than waiting for that to happen, just deciding to get out ahead of it, just like experiment with it yourself.
Before the game even comes out.
Like,
that is so funny.
Like, you know
what if everyone had hated it?
Oh, match 3 though. They knew. They knew.
It I do like a bit of
They
match
did know.
3. It's so true.
That game is so fucking good.
It's really good.
The other thing I wanted to have a chat about is something I've written down here is I feel like a lot of indie sequels that I was thinking of earlier launched to just not as much fanfare as the original, with some very rare exceptions. Like, obviously, the Silksong in the room looms large, but
that's what that shadow was.
I've already put a placeholder title for this episode that is called the Silksong in the room. So
oh, amazing, love that.
That is incredible.
But I was thinking of like Rogue Legacy 2, SteamWorld Heist 2, Darkest Dungeon 2. Like, these games were massive sequels to beloved games that sort of came out with a bit of like a they're good. Like, they didn't do anything wrong, but
I think they are just marketed so exclusively to the existing fan base, I think, is the thing. It's like, and I've been thinking that a lot about the games we've been talking about today, is like, rather than court a new audience, a lot of indie sequels are like, they just really double down on the audience they have. It's like, I would like to convert as many players from game 1 to game 2, because that is a really locked in and specialist audience that I can already know and trust my work. And like that, I think, again, if you're anticipating selling copies in the thousands rather than the millions, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, like, no shade on Cook Serve Delicious, but like, surely that is just the same game, but with like a bit more in each one. I've not played 3. Is there another one? I've played 1 and 2.
Well,
I've not played 4 and 5. Is that just
3?
Is that not fair to say?
They are like mechanically the same, but they normally make them more complex. But then like 3 was about you and 2 very like buxom robot chef women trying to like serve food during the apocalypse.
You know what? Pop off then. That that's not what I was the point I was trying to make.
Oh yes,
but
this one.
I do get what you're saying. And then the one after that was like a solar punk interpretation of the Earth as it is after the apocalypse.
Oh my god. Right, because that one comes to mind. But okay, so for a series that I have played, like the Shelter games were very much that. Like the first one is you play as a badger looking after your babies. The second was you play as a lynx looking after your lynx cubs. And the third one was you play as an elephant looking after your elephant baby. What's a baby elephant called? Calf? Looking after your elephant calf. And it's like, I liked the first 2, the third one wasn't that great. But like, it was just exactly the same as before, almost. Yeah. And the first one is still like the best by far. They did branch out unsuccessfully, I think. I don't think that's unfair to say, into other areas where, because they released an MMO based on Shelter, which did pretty well. And I just thought I think Martin Delight went, oh, we can do MMOs. Let's make this big one and kickstart it. And I don't know what's happened with that. I think I kickstarted it. I've not heard anything about it. Oof. But yeah, the Shelter games is very much like they have a structure and they sticking with it.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that,
no,
I don't know, 3 wasn't, it just didn't do, it was the same. Like when you get to the third game and not much has changed so much, like, and you don't get, I mean, actually, Rebecca, you totally proved me wrong. Because I was thinking when I was looking through my Steam list, like, I don't know if I've played any like trilogies, like 3 games with a 3 in it. I was like, I don't think I have. Haven't. Like, I think Little Nightmares might be the first one. Is that indie? Where the third one is something I'm looking forward to because I've played 1 and 2 and I'm looking forward to 3. But like I really haven't played any Samaros 3. But again, it's like nothing in comparison to everything else I've played. Not a lot of 3s for me.
It's very rare. It does seem to really be like horror and visual novels and not much else in terms of like, long running cardinal series. I mean, I was actually thinking, because there's that controversy of whether visual novels are video games or if they're just something very like video games. And the vast majority, like 90% of the time, I'm like, no, they're video games. Stop being daft. They're like, they're in 2025.
You stop being daft.
Exactly.
Cut it out.
In 2025, they may
down.
have started as different things, but they've grown together to the point where they're almost like you can't really see where one ends and the other begins, to the point where they're the same thing. But with the exception that I think visual novels get sequeled so differently, and I think that's the big difference that still exists is, I think that just looking at the number of visual novels that are on this list I've made compared to any other genre is like, clearly there's something different happening in the way that you can serialize that, based on, I guess,
it's probably scope, right?
Sorry?
It's probably scope.
Yeah,
it's probably
exactly.
Scope and the amount of like complexity in the development of a visual novel is going to be very different to the complexity of, let's say, a Stardew Valley.
Exactly, yeah. And I was like, okay, so we found the one case in which I'm willing to argue that maybe visual novels aren't the exact same thing as video games, just because of the fact that sequeling clearly works differently. And like, I do feel, yeah, it's just something about the way that they're marketed. You can still kind of market a visual novel series to new players in a way that I don't think you could market indie games. I'd be intrigued to know, taking it back to Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3, did I get that right?
You did, yeah. Well done.
Nice.
Off the dome as well.
Yes. Oh, this memory sometimes it's helpful. I do wonder, like, how many people were put off by the 3? Is something that has occurred to me before.
That's a really
true. If you went in on the joke or you weren't really familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
because I think the kayfabe exists on the Steam page too. I think it's like this is the 3rd installment in the series.
Yeah.
God damn it. So funny.
It wouldn't be the first time that they did a bit and it went too far.
Goof too close to the sun, as he likes to say.
The one. Yeah.
So good.
I mean, I don't want to make that assertion for this because I've got no evidence that that was a factor for anybody except for maybe the people who were most casually scrolling through the Steam store. You know.
Yeah.
I think it sold pretty well for them, actually.
Oh, yeah. I hope it did. It was really good. But
I love that. So I figured we would maybe wrap up this conversation, which has been very interesting, by the way. The nutritional value of this episode feels very high.
I was just about to say, I'm sorry.
What, you're about to talk about snake.
Yeah, I was about to say we've come so far from the snake gum.
We've what so far?
I'm sorry. It's just, I was
going to make a joke about nutritional value of it.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Okay. Oh, whoa.
Oh, hey.
My brain editorializes so quickly, but it's like really funny and I have to share it with the nearest person because it's just like, I just like fully formed ideas come to me and I'll turn to Mick usually and be like, I've just had the most unhinged immediate
Listen, sit down.
Yeah.
Stop driving. Pull over.
Stop the car.
So I was we've cooked this episode just to really pat us on the back here. Fucking hell. I thought it'd be interesting to have a very quick chat about sequels that never were, because there are some very famous indie game sequels that never came out. I'm thinking of Dream Settler, which I haven't spoken about on the podcast yet because it's simply too painful
I was about to say,
for me.
I don't think anyone wanted to mention that until you brought it up, to be honest.
Until I was ready. The grieving is done.
Yeah.
I mean, that was based on... Jay Tholen released a very honest video about why that game never came out.
God, yeah.
And like, the scope creep on that just seemed enormous. And I was really shocked when he basically admitted that after this long of working on it, there was really no game. They'd never actually sat down to put it all together. It was just, let's do this cool shit. And it just never worked. And I mean, the most famous one, I would argue, is Fez 2. You know, where Phil Fish had a moment on twitter.com and just basically said, well, none of you are getting this then. And then he just never made a game again.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I kind of love that for him, because it's kind of like, you know, when you're like making a, but this is what I mean with like fan expectation, and you ultimately at the end of the day you're the creator. At the end of the day, you're the creator. You have the power, and you can literally just be like, no, fuck you, I'm going. And like, you know, that man obviously has a lot going on, but that decision, I can't help but feel a bit like, fuck yeah. It's a diva move, and I respect a diva. I respect the diva move. Yeah. I do. But, you know. Wish him all the best.
I agree. I'd written down, yes, I wish him all the best. I'd written down, like, what you've said. It's a power move. He did it because he didn't want the pressure. And then I read about the incident, and I was like, oh no, he did tell a journalist to kill themselves. Yeah. So I think, ooh, that bit was a bit lost to time, but
yeah. He was not in a good place, and at a time where everyone was just spouting whatever thought popped into their brain on twitter.com. The wild west of
poisoning of that era was off the charts. Yeah. he did an amazing episode of My Perfect Console with Simon Parkin, which I would encourage people to listen to. I think it's a very interesting chat. He maybe did that a year ago. Phil, we wish you all the best in not making games. That is your call. But yeah, any sequels that you can think of that never came to be, or...
Honestly, I had to think, and I can't think of any. I don't think there's been a sequel apart from Dream Settler R.I.P.
I know,
like
right?
that, but that was kind of good. I'm so sorry, babes. I can see how much this is paining you.
Wasn't the spiritual successor to Celeste was cancelled this year as well?
Oh shit! Because now they're working on Earth.
No, that
wasn't that Celeste. The Celeste devs.
Yeah, Earthblade got cancelled this year. That's what they were working on. So they cancelled that maybe 6-7 months ago.
Shit, you're right.
Yeah,
I had totally and utterly forgot about that. Shit.
Yeah,
that sucks. But well, yeah, that would be mine then. I honestly couldn't think of many others, any other sequels. Maybe they just don't. Like, how far into development do you make an announcement, or like, I don't really know anything about that. There could be so many sequels we have no idea that just never happened.
Oh, 100%.
1,000, right?
The only one I could think of, which is a really weird edge case, is Project Libitina, which is the maybe sequel to Doki Doki Literature Club, which if you dig enough into the endings of Doki Doki Literature Club, is implied to be a sequel that they may or may not have started working on, they may or may not have abandoned.
Wow.
May have always been part of the metafiction of Doki Doki Literature Club, or maybe genuinely something else. And like, I'm looking at this, like, there's a Reddit thread. I think if that game's 8 years old now, there's a Reddit thread from a year ago saying, is Project Libitina still a thing? And people discussing, like, you know, there's still the bits on their website that suggest, you know, hint towards it, and the ARG around it is still up. So people are like...
Right, okay, so the devs were... Because sometimes I'm like, okay, was this all fans? But the devs were putting out teasers and like little...
It says
definitely on their website they're still working on a project at the moment.
It's definitely kind of in there, but what it is and what it means and whether it's an actual sequel to Doki Doki Literature Club or like within the same kind of world...
Oh god, they've totally fucked themselves now, because if it's not, everyone's going to be like, what?
I think...
God, what a tricky situation to be in.
I was always kind of expecting, because of the way it's like within the game files of DDLC, I was like, it's probably the next stage up of the metafiction, right? Because I've played the DDLC Plus, which has more stuff kind of suggesting like this software company that kind of makes the game in universe, as I recall. It's a couple of years since I played it, but you know, there's definitely layers and layers of the metafiction here, and I guess that Project Libitina is something in that. But it's still something I think about when I'm like, what am I kind of hyped for that has no indication whatsoever of release date, whether it's been cancelled, whether it was ever real. That would be one for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. Damn.
No, neither did I. Really interesting.
Yeah.
Did you have any, Liam, or was, I mean, Dream Settler your...
Just the two, yeah. Dream Settler, R.I.P. But on a lighter note, are there any indie games that we would actually like to see receive a sequel?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think for me, I would have anything for me with like a creature collection. So like Bugsnax 2. I'd eat the oh god, I would love a sequel to Bugsnax 2.
That isn't a thing, you know. Yeah.
Surely they're working on it. I would love that. So that or Flock. I thought Flock was a really interesting creature collection sim. So like just more birds.
It's a good one.
I would just want more birds. You know what? Like, thank goodness you're here, but other towns, they're never going to do it. But if they could do a Valleys one, I would absolutely love that. Like a Welsh version.
They just do regional, they do like 12 regional versions of Thank Goodness You're Here.
That would be incredible.
That would be, if they committed to the bit and did do sort of like gradually inch around the UK.
They should license their little, they should license the little guy out to different studios to make their own
studios
take
from different regions.
Yeah,
that's such a good idea.
The East Midlands one, that'll be so funny.
Right? Oh, and Tangle Tower 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Any Detective Grimoire, to be honest, any detective games that have a good lead character.
See, I was going to say Locomotive.
Forever and ever. Oh yeah.
You know, I know that was that seems to have been made with the hope of making it into a series with the characters who are very likable, and you can, again, it's a detective story. It's based on, you know, Agatha Christie, etc., things that ran for lots and lots of installments, and there's clearly a hope there. And I
want Herman Merman needs his own fucking game. I want Herman Merman. He's got enough books in canon in the game. They could just make those books into games, and I would play all of them because I love Herman Merman.
He's great.
Was it Herman Merman and Murmuring German? Yes, I'd play the shit out of that.
I don't love, to be fair. I love all three.
They
of
are
the
very
leads
good.
Are so great.
Yeah.
I would just do paperwork with Arthur quite happily, and
Arthur is so funny
until he gets dragged into another like miserable, terrible time. On a different form of transport, like a boat.
That'd be funny.
Yeah,
classic sequel escalation in an Agatha Christie type scenario.
Exactly, that's a good one. But yeah, those are mine.
I hope that gets a sequel.
Yeah, me too. I think that's kind of the only like very indie one that I could think of, because it was like, we talked before about Lost Records and how I feel like that could really benefit from another couple of episodes. So that would be one. I also wanted to like touch on Paranormosite, which is, I know, one of the very dubious definitions of indie ones.
Oh yeah.
Because that is currently getting, they've just announced the release date for the manga, so it's getting a sequel in another medium.
Wow.
But it's not clear at the moment if it's gonna have another game as well, or if they're gonna just make it into like a manga series from now on. But
interesting.
I was like, I almost suggested that as part of the topic. I was like, indie games that get sequels in other media, or, you know, how often does that happen? I can think of, like we say, maybe the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is meant to expand on the canon, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen often, not nearly as often as it does in the AAA space, obviously.
No.
Yeah, and in Japan, I feel like in Japan, if one game series pops off, they go to town.
Actually, that's true.
On like comics, manga, TV show,
stage plays,
films.
And musicals, which is what absolutely gets me. That's just not culturally translated at all.
There's a Nier Automata had a big, maybe it was Drakengard. Like, if you actually look at like the timeline of all of Yoko Taro's games, it's like, oh yeah, you've got to play Drakengard 1, 2, 3, and then you've got to watch the amateur performance that ran for like a year, and then there's like a book, and then there's Nier, and then there's another stage play or something, and then there's Nier Automata. Like, it's just
like, name a Japanese game series of any sort of level of budget and genre that you like, and there will be a stage musical, there will be a Takazaki review like performance.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts is another one.
A bunch of stage
There's
plays.
So much.
Like,
if you haven't played this mobile game that's only released in Japan, you're not going to understand the storyline. So you need to go watch a Let's Play.
Yeah, right.
Stop! Or go on.
Depending
on whether you want to get into that or not. I'm very much just like, can we not? I'll watch
Kingdom Hearts, stop.
I'll watch a 5-hour YouTube video summary of all these different laws from different Japanese RPG games.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
My answer to this was conveniently Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, because I felt like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, a game I really wanted to love, and this is the first thing we ever spoke about in this podcast, I think, was Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. A game I really, really wanted to love, but I felt was flawed in many, many ways. And they've just announced a sequel called Hyperfunk, and just off the very small teaser, it looks to me like there's no police, there's none chasing you to the same extent,
my God.
and there's a more expanded trick system. So I'm very, very happy that is getting a sequel.
Love that for them.
Good on Team Reptile for that.
God, that's such an interesting one as well, because like, that was inspired by Jet Set Radio. That was a spiritual successor to that. And now they're doing another game. So, oh my God. A whole other topic of interesting conversations just with that game.
Know, right?
Yeah, like
fucking hell.
Spiritual sequels developed by completely different people based on games that don't... Yeah, like Cultic, that game I love.
Yeah, or Pizza Tower. That was Wario
Pizza
Land.
Tower, Wario Land. Yeah.
What the fuck? Anyway.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon. God damn it.
Yeah.
Nothing's original. Everything is a spiritual successor to everything else. This podcast is a spiritual success.
God.
We are a sequel. I didn't even put that together. We are a sequel to ourselves. We are an indie sequel to a mainstream media.
Damn it. What?
Well, with that has to be the conclusion. That's incredible.
Done. Fuck it.
Oh, shall we move on
I think we have to,
the sequel, Hyperfixation?
Oh, God.
Hello, welcome back to Hyperfixations. My name is Liam, and I'm joined by my two friends, Rachel Watts
Hi.
and Rebecca Jones.
Hi, what's happening?
I don't know.
Let's go with it.
10 to 10. Thank you, I love that. Yes, and.
Yeah,
Not no stop, shall we call a doctor?
My middle name is Yes and, but like, I'm here for the ride.
Aren't we all? Who has a hyperfixation? Who wants to go first?
I can talk about a game I've played for my hyperfixation.
Do it.
I've played a couple of really great games recently, but one I want to point out is Starbirds, which is in early access.
Oh yeah,
and it's the devs who did Dorfromantik. And I would say if Dorfromantik was Risk in terms of board games, Starbirds is the equivalent would be like Frostpunk. Like they're two very cozy games with very intense inspirations and beginnings. So Starbirds is a base builder where you play as a group of very cute feathered birds and you go to different planets and mine their resources. But the interesting thing about this is instead of it just being one planet, it's more like meteors. So you have your mothership and you have different meteors and you can just go to different meteors and resource different materials. But the result is like this kind of like, was it Rat King tale, like of nest of all these different meteorites, like sending resources to each other. And I think like that doesn't sound like an original concept because it's not. But what I love about this game is how accessible and how colorful and how like baby's first base builder it is. Like complimentary. Like it's in early access, but I'm having such a good time with it. Like I love a good base builder, but sometimes I get frustrated if there's like a combat involved or you're like defending against something. This is just a really laid back resource management sim that's done really well. And there's just something really satisfying about joining these different areas together and the way that resources flow. Everything is really accessible. It does kind of come off a bit like a tablet phone game, derogatory in that sense, but like because of how accessible it is. But I think once you get past that, the first couple of levels, I think if you're into base builders and you were to play this game, you'd be a bit put off by that because it's so colorful and the graphics are very bubbly and it is about birds in space, which I think is adorable. But I can see why other people would be like, okay, but like I've played the first 5 chapters and it does get difficult quite quickly. So what starts off as this quite laid back cutesy game suddenly turns into this kind of complex system of like sending resources to different planets, deciding what planets you should combine resources on. And I'm really enjoying it. I thought it would be, I don't know, you know how like Dorfromantik, it takes something that's quite complicated as like tile placement, point scoring, and turns into something that's quite cutesy, quite approachable, something you could recommend someone who's not really familiar with video games. I feel like Starbirds is also that, but for base building. Like I'm just having a really good time with it. And early access, it's golden. Sometimes I can be a bit put off by early access, but to be fair, this is a great game. And if you are someone who's looking for a bit more of a challenge, there's like, it does that thing where there's like other achievements and check boxes and goals you can reach that challenge
like
you.
Side activities, like sub-objectives and stuff, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. But ultimately, it's just a solid game. I had a good time with it. I spent 5 hours in it. I can't wait for the full release. So yeah, Starbirds by Tucana Interactive. That is who did Dorfromantik. Yes. They got a little toucan is there.
Yeah.
Indie studios who have cute characters as their cute animals as their mascots. But yeah,
put it in the episode description, the episode ideas spreadsheet.
Yes, Chillers Art and Tucana Interactive.
Indie studio mascot battle royale. Is that anything?
Yes, sure. Fuck it.
Devolver Digital have that really unhinged rat mascot, right? We can chuck them
they
in.
do, don't they? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember his name.
Clarify, that was not a serious suggestion. Don't worry. Anyone who listens to this podcast and who has like...
I took it seriously.
No, I think we should, I wanted to take it seriously, just like, but I would not people who listen to this podcast who are creators, don't worry, I'm not going to make your mascot fight other mascots unless you want me to, in which case, let me know.
Email contact@indiventurepodcast.co.uk. So interestingly, my hyperfixation is directly linked to Starbirds because I went to play Starbirds and ended up playing something similar instead.
Ooh.
But on the Starbirds conversation, it's an automation game, right? Which makes me think, is this maybe the first automation game you've ever played?
Me?
Yeah, have you played like Factorio or anything like that before?
No, Satisfactory I haven't. I have played automation games before, but I don't know. I think that for me, it felt familiar. So I don't know if it was my first one, but I haven't played the big hitters. So in that respect, this is probably my first one. Yeah, for sure. Which
I think definitely paints it as a good introduction to that genre. And I can't wait for us to start our Satisfactory playthrough in a few months' time, Rachel.
Yes! This is my gateway.
The factory must grow. Yep, that's it. That will be forever unsocial now as we continue to ravage that planet of all its natural resources. But I played the demo of this like earlier this year. Maybe?
Did you?
And loved it. Yeah, I did speak about it on an episode. And I can't wait to play the full release as well.
Yes.
So maybe wait for early access to be done. I'm not sure yet, but you are making me want to give it a try.
Yes. It's one of those games where, like with Squeakross, it's just so relaxing. Yes. Oh, I'm a Squeakross convert. Have we talked about this? You've converted me 100% to Squeakross.
I don't think we have
it's
actually.
Incredible.
Well, you did message me.
Yeah.
My God.
I've seen the messages.
The Church of Squeakross.
Yes.
It's so fucking good, God.
Everyone
play Squeakross. Everyone go play it. But like,
it's a banger.
It's just one of those really cozy games. Like, I just had a couple episodes of House on in the background. I was playing Starbirds. I was playing Squeakross. I was just having don't judge me for watching House. Well, I don't know, judge me a little bit. It's okay, but it's also not okay. We've talked about this. But like,
it's of its time.
House is fucking wild. But yeah, it's like one of those games where I felt it's like just stimulating enough that you can like concentrate on it, but if you kind of want to zone out and be a bit more laid back, it's also that. So yeah love it. I'm so sorry, I totally forgot you played the demo, mentioned it on the podcast. Damn, I hadn't had it wish listed. It slipped past me anyway. But yeah,
you have to apologize for that. We've done so many episodes of these things, like,
but
you think you're gonna remember every little demo I played like in episode 36 or something?
Yes. Well, the minimum is adding them to my wish list. So that surprises me because normally everything we talk about I add to my wish list. So.
Maybe you're like, fuck those birds.
Maybe I looked at it and went, this is for babies, and I didn't play it.
Someone in the Discord earlier said, I've just finished listening to every episode back to back of Indie Venture. Can one of you let me know, or does anyone know, an episode of Redacted Podcast where they explain why they don't like Tim from Braid? And I was reading, I was like, I couldn't even fucking tell you when we started that as a bit.
Bless your heart for listening to every episode.
Yes, love you, whoever that was. Also, we do not need a reason to absolutely fucking despise Jonathan Blow and his stupid games, even though The Witness is pretty good. So there you go, babes.
I think we reconcile our anger and the fact that The Witness is pretty good by just piling a lot of our feelings onto Tim, the terrible boy.
Yeah,
also,
he's like, bless him, he's a stand-in.
He knows what he did. He is. I've got.
Anyway, he knows what he did.
I'm not going to get into
knows what he
invented the
did.
nuclear bomb or whatever.
I'm sorry. I know that you want a more satisfying answer, dear listener, but I will. We're near the end of our recording time for this one, and it's a whole other thing for me that I get very stressed out about. So, like, I'll start from a place of calm and say it another time.
Well, if someone can find an episode where we do explain it on In Discovery, let me know, because I would also be interested in listening to that. And probably I'll be like, haha, good one, you three, because I'll have forgotten everything we said. I'm just going to go next to my hyperfixation, if that's okay, because when I was going to go play Starbirds, instead I started playing Odd Sparks and Automation Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very similar. This is by Massive Mini Team. This is like my first Factorio crossed with Pikmin is probably the best way of describing it.
Love that.
In that instead of like conveyor belts, you put down paths and then throw little Pikmin like wooden creatures and they tootle along and pick things up and harvest things and what have you. I started this on Friday on the Steam Deck. It makes my Steam Deck so hot, I think it's going to explode. It's one of those games where the battery lasts about 20 minutes, so you just plug it into the wall.
Yep.
Mhm.
No,
but I really like this game. I think it's really good. I played a demo maybe 2 years ago, or maybe a year ago, and really liked it. I think the full release of this, it's just come out of early access this year, is very enjoyable. I think there's just a few little bits where I think a lot of people sort of build it as, oh, this is like my first Factorio, this is my introduction to automation games. I actually think from the sounds of it, Starbirds is more that than this, because this actually has like quite a lot of complexity in it. And a few sort of little bits where I'm like, oh, I'm not sure that quite works. Like, because the creatures are like physical things that move across these like paths, they can like, if you cross paths together or try and do logic gates, they like stop and wait for the other ones to pass or get stuck. And that's a little bit like, I'm not sure that quite works. And from what I've read as well, the end game basically just makes the game into a tower defense game, even though it's not built for that whatsoever, which is a bit of an interesting choice. But all that said, God, this game's charmed the pants off me. I think it's just lovely. It's got a mixed rating on Steam, and I just don't think it deserves that whatsoever. It's one of those classic things where it doesn't have many reviews, but the negative ones have like 100 hours in it.
Right.
And it's like, what are we doing here? I think this is lovely. I think it's really charming. I really like the Pikmin element of it, of being able to run around with these little creatures and you get different types. And it's got like an exploration edge to it, where it wants you to constantly venture out in the world as your character with your little sparks, as they're called. And I just think that's like a nice little like twist on that formula. And I just really like this. I think it's really, really good. It's on PC, PS5 and Xbox, I think. So yeah, Oddsparks. Maybe check it out if you're curious and looking for something chill and Pikmin-like to play.
Yes, because I've had my eye on it as well, but I also spied the mixed reviews, and I was just like, I have such a long list, but I'm definitely plan to give it a go. And from what you said, it does sound very nice and charming. But
yeah, you could have an easy 10 hours in it and be like, I get it. I've enjoyed that.
Steam reviews can be a killer. Do you know what I mean? Oh,
yeah, they can.
Yeah.
Rebecca, do you have one?
I have been to see. I have been to see a film. I have been to see an incredibly harrowing film, but nevertheless, I really enjoyed. So yesterday, at the time of recording, was the King of Horror, Stephen King's birthday, and he put on Blue Sky, all I want for my birthday is for you all to go and see The Long Walk, which is the new latest.
It's a new movie.
He's been having a year, right? He's had, I think, like 3 new TV shows and like 5 new movies based on his work. It's been like a big year for Stephen King fans.
Stephen.
I say all this.
Stephen. Ooh.
I thought the thing about I'll go see The Long Walk for my birthday was so cute, because I was just like, I'd already planned to go see it, so I was like, yeah, let's go. This is fun.
If Stephen says, you must go.
I like to imagine that.
Did you call Goblin?
I did indeed.
Yes!
Oh my goodness! Right, I gotta set some expectations about The Long Walk, because it is it's based on a novel that he published in 1979. It is one of the Bachman books, which is when he was writing sort of like thriller sci-fi. He had to use a pen name so it wouldn't kind of like his brand as a horror guy was still new enough that if he kind of stepped outside of that, he had to go into like a pen name. It's one that I read for the first time when I was about 14, so that'd be around 2000, and I think I've read it 3 times total.
What? You are an Uber fan. Oh my god, hell yeah.
But it is basically like a sort of, it's got that deadly game, like sort of like game show aspect to, like teenage protagonists, all of that. Basically, it was like a massive inspiration for Hunger Games, or at least it inspired the things that inspired the Hunger Games. To the point that they got the director of the Hunger Games to direct this movie, right? So I went in with certain expectations, because this has been one of the ones as well that's like thought to be kind of unfilmable because of the premise. The premise is that it's 100 teenage boys get picked out of a lottery to go on this basically like walk across or like down the coast of the eastern United States and just keep walking until there's only one of them left.
Oh god.
With and basically there are all these rules, and if they break the rules, they get executed, and that's,
Oh my god, this is so your shit. It's unbelievable.
This is probably one of the things that made me love this, right, is reading this at a very impressionable age. But you think, they got Francis Lawrence to direct it, and it's like one of the harder to film Stephen King. You think you know what you're going in for. It is some of the bleakest cinema that I have ever seen. Like, I almost feel like they have missold it a little bit by leaning on the Hunger Games connection so much, because so I went with my mum and my partner, who are two people I consider fairly unshockable by cinema. And by the end of it, I was like, it's really hard to make eye contact with the people with me, because it's so dark and harrowing. And I got out of the cinema and I was like, so what do we think? And they both were like, it was a fantastic movie. I never want to watch it again in my life.
Fuck, interesting.
It is but the actor, it's amazingly well cast. Like there is not a weak link in the cast. They are all brilliant. If you're saying that a lot of them are like younger actors, some people that you might know from a few TV shows that were maybe the kids in the show from like 5 years ago or whatever. The characters are all meant to be like 18-ish. The actors are like 25-ish, as they tend to be, but everyone looks super baby-faced to me now. But the performances are so incredible that I went in being like, we're going to get kind of like the Hunger Games treatment. And I came out going, like, where are the Oscars for this thing? Because like this is so... The performances are amazing. They're so good. But also I was like, yeah, the Hunger Games connection, like the only thing I knew going in was that they changed the ending, and I was like, they've Hunger Gamesed it, it's going to be a bit more of a like upbeat ending compared to the no. Like, as a fan of the book, it really worked for me, because I was like, well, I know kind of what we're aiming towards. No, it goes so different.
Oh, interesting.
So just like the very, like, it's a very faithful adaptation up to the end, and then the end, you're like, I think I see what's going to happen here. No, you don't. Fan of the book. No, you don't. It is it is going somewhere.
Well, I want to see it. I need to know.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I need you guys.
I had no interest in this.
I've got to say two things. It is definitely a cinema watch, because my partner Mick was saying, like, I'm glad I saw it in the cinema, the only time I'm ever going to watch it, because it was a cinematic experience to be seen on the big screen.
Oh, wow.
I think in a way his review is probably more coherent than mine, because he was like, I was tense throughout. He does not get that affected by media usually, but he was like, I was so tense the entire film. So like, with the caveat that it is brutal and like, take care of yourself going to see this film, it was so good. I'll probably watch it again, because I'm a really sick puppy. I will probably double bill it, because there's another Stephen King film coming out in November, which is The Running Man. Which is his, so that's his other deadly...
They're remaking that?
Yeah, they're remaking it with Glenn Powell, who I love. And it's kind of like his other Deadly Game Show book. So there's like, they have mirrored themes. They came out around the same time under the same pen name. And I was like, why didn't they release these closer together? You could double bill them. It'll be so fun.
Yes.
And then I realized it wouldn't be fun, because this film is so fucking bleak. But then I realized, actually, what you really need is to watch the sort of dark comedy reimagining of The Running Man after you've watched The Long Walk, I think, at that point. Because we were going to go out for dinner afterwards, and Mick was like, actually, do you mind if we just go home? I just want to go home.
Oh my god!
Like, it was really dark, but it was incredible. Like, incredible film.
God damn!
Hold on. The Running Man remake is being directed by Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Right, it's going to be
okay.
Wild. Tonally could not be more different from this. But then again, I saw that this was being directed by Francis friggin' Lawrence, who did The Hunger Games, and I was like, I know what I'm getting going in, and it turns out I did not. So...
God damn it. Well,
you've
let's see
convinced
that
me
movie.
To watch this.
Oh,
yeah, me
too.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the Rotten Tomatoes reviews while you were chatting there, and can I just read out the top audience review on Rotten Tomatoes for this movie?
Go for it.
Yes.
This is by user Dejanaba, and it says, it was okay, had some good parts, but there was a lot of walking, lol.
Okay. See what you did there, babes.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Whoa, damn. Right.
Yeah.
Well, with that incredible recommendation for a movie that I had completely written off, to be honest.
Please view responsibly, people. Please view responsibly, but it is real good if you're in the right headspace.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, very interesting. Well, that brings us to the end of this podcast. We've covered so many topics: sequels, snake semen,
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. End of list. If you have any thoughts about sequels, you can join our Discord and talk about them there. Not the other thing. You keep those thoughts to yourself, young man.
Yeah.
But that's all from us. We'll be back very, very soon. We are bulk recording some episodes again before Rachel goes on her hollybobs.
Yay!
But you won't know about that. I don't know why I said it. I said it because it's 10:10 and I'm very tired.
Just saying the words.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye!
Fucking hell. Indie Venture is a video games podcast created, produced, hosted, and edited by Rachel Watts, Rebecca Jones, and me, Liam Richardson. For more information, including a list of every game we mentioned in this episode, make sure to check out our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can get in touch by sending your questions, comments, and feedback to contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can support the show by rating us 5 stars and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast provider of choice. Some of the games we talk about on the show may have been provided to us for free for review consideration. Our intro music and stings were composed for us by Ollie Newbury. Check the episode description to hear more of his excellent tunes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for another episode of Indie Venture. Bye for now.